Every giant empire begins in a place the world chooses to ignore. In 1976, Steve Jobs had a dream far bigger than the life he was living. Money was running out, long before the ambition did. Every dollar had to answer one impossible question. Is this enough? Most people would have walked away right there. Steve chose something much harder to believe anyway. Ideas don't change the world until someone is willing to build them. That tiny workbench was about to become the birthplace of history. Great dreams always ask for something in return before they give you anything. Wozniak gave up the calculator he depended on without looking back. Jobs sacrificed the only vehicle he owned to keep the dream alive. When they finished selling everything, they had just $1,300. To everyone else, it looked like almost nothing. To them, it was enough to begin. Every dollar now had a single mission: become the first Apple computer. And that small investment soon turned into something nobody expected. The real work had finally begun. Every board had to earn the trust of a future customer. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak worked side by side, chasing the same impossible goal. Day after day, the garage turned into a real production line. Then came the opportunity they had been waiting for. 50 computers. One chance to prove Apple belonged in the market. They packed every board, knowing there might never be a second chance. The moment those boxes crossed the front door, Apple stopped being just a dream. But building a product was only the beginning of the battle. To grow bigger, they needed something they didn't have: serious funding. Inside those offices, investors saw risk instead of opportunity. One rejection after another proved one thing: believing in the future was never easy. When everyone else saw a risky idea, one person saw a future. His name was Mike Markula, and he believed Apple could become something bigger. He didn't just offer advice, he offered the chance they desperately needed. For the first time, their dream had real support behind it. That investment wasn't just money. It was the foundation of a company that would change technology forever. The garage was no longer just a workshop. It became the beginning of a real company. And with every passing day, the small team started moving closer to something historic. Now came the moment that would decide whether Apple could truly compete. Apple II wasn't just another computer. It was built for ordinary people. For the first time, the market started paying attention. Every new customer became proof that the vision was working. Before long, production could barely keep up with demand. The company that once counted every dollar was now counting every sale. Headlines began calling Apple one of the fastest-growing companies in Silicon Valley. The garage was now a memory. Apple had become a real force in the industry. Then came the day that changed their lives forever. Apple shares finally reached the public market. In a single day, years of sacrifice turned into extraordinary success. But the biggest victories often arrive just before the hardest battles. Success can disappear the moment you stop earning it. Apple's next big release failed to meet expectations. Customers didn't just return the product, they returned their confidence. Inside the boardroom, the pressure kept growing. Every difficult question pointed to the same person. The company he helped create was slipping out of his hands. Then came the decision no founder ever wants to hear. Steve Jobs walked away from Apple, carrying nothing but the lessons he had earned. Without Steve Jobs, Apple's future became more uncertain than ever. Every month, the company seemed to lose a little more of its direction. New leadership searched for answers, but time was running out. The numbers told a story nobody wanted to hear. Sales slowed, inventory piled up, confidence disappeared. Even inside Apple, hope was becoming harder to find. Experts began asking the question everyone feared: Could one of Silicon Valley's biggest dreams really be coming to an end? Then, when almost everyone expected Apple to disappear, the impossible happened. Apple's biggest competitor chose to keep its rival alive. Microsoft invested $150 million in Apple. But the money wasn't the biggest surprise. Steve Jobs walked back through Apple's doors, this time with a completely different vision. Everything was about to change. Again. Jobs didn't return to save the old Apple. He came back to build a new one. The colorful iMac proved technology could be powerful and beautiful. This time, the world wasn't laughing. It was listening. Apple had found its momentum again. Then came a tiny white device that changed the music industry forever. The comeback was complete, and Apple was growing faster than ever. But Steve Jobs believed Apple's greatest product still hadn't been revealed. Years of preparation had led to this single moment. Then, he introduced a device that would redefine the smartphone forever. Within minutes, the audience knew they were witnessing history. The iPhone didn't just transform Apple, it transformed the way the world communicates. From that day forward, there was no turning back. Every great company eventually faces one final challenge: surviving its founder. Steve Jobs passed the responsibility to Tim Cook, trusting Apple to keep moving forward. The leadership changed. The mission never did. The App Store became more than software. It became an entirely new economy. Millions of people now carried Apple's ecosystem in their pockets every day. Every new product made the entire ecosystem even stronger. One successful device became an entire family of products. Apple was no longer selling devices, it was shaping everyday life across the world. Today, that impossible dream has become one of the greatest business stories ever told. The company that once started in a tiny garage now stands among the largest on Earth. What began with one vision now inspires millions of entrepreneurs around the world. Every milestone proved that patience can outperform luck. Behind every new product, the original mission still lives on. From a quiet neighborhood garage to a global technology empire, Steve Jobs and everyone who helped build Apple left a legacy far bigger than themselves. Today, Apple's ideas reach almost every corner of the planet. It all started with one belief: that the future could be built by ordinary people. And that's how a small garage became one of the most valuable companies in history.